Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to HGO, the show where we talk about everything that's hot in the world of gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Ethan, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host with the co-most, it's Hunter. Hey, Hunter, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just swell. Poured myself a nice drink and here to talk about the one good thing that happened this year as far as, at least video games were cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're also joined by our other co-host, it's the wee woman himself, it's Kyle. Hey, Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Cracked my can open. Here we go. Ready for another hour of joy.
I've got my urine. It's all good. We're ready to rock and roll, guys. Is urine a swear word? We'll find out. We'll find out with YouTube's recommended. If you didn't know this, it's HGO, where every week we come together to talk about.
Give Twitch some time. I'm sure they'll ban it.
It's scientific. Yeah, I'm a biologist. YouTube, leave me alone. But this is HGO, where we come together to talk about everything that's hot in the world of games. If you didn't know, you can find us on podcast services everywhere: Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, we're on it. Go over there and find us. Just search the Gigas on those platforms. We're probably there. Amazon Music. Yes, we're also there as well. I'm going to move my camera just a tiny bit. There we go. Now I'm more in frame. That'll do. We also have a video version. That's why I'm mentioning cameras on bit.ly/theGillians, where you can catch us look at each other very weirdly as we say things on our podcast.
Dude, perfect segue.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of just listening to our annoying voices, you can also look at our annoying faces. So head to bit.ly/theGillians. Hit us with a sub. We'd really appreciate it. Not a train wreck already. Housekeeping. Hope you've had a great Christmas. We're pre-recording this, so we're probably going to be out of action for a couple of weeks. So if we're not responding to comments as quickly, you know why. We're not really around. But we have done an extra episode just for you, so that because there's always that gap between Christmas and New Year where everyone's like, it's still technically holidays, but no one gives a shit. So you've got like those 3 or 4 days where you've got nothing to do. Hey, we're here for you for an hour of that. So yeah, you're welcome. It's been a heck of a year, so we thought we'd wrap it up with our favorite games, Game of the Year 2020 awards, whatever you want to call it, the Hot Gamer Awards, whatever you want to call it. Here we are, the Hot Gamer Awards.
I think Hot Gamer Awards was something we thought of.
Yeah, the Hot Gamer Awards or the Hot Game Awards. Yeah, fuck you, Jeff. We're just sticking a H in front. There we go. The Hot Game Awards 2020.
Yeah, the HGAs is
the
what we came up
HGAs,
with.
that's it. Okay.
I was checking the idea notebook.
Awesome. So yeah, welcome to the HGAs, where we're going to be talking about our favorite games that we've played this year, and probably have a favorite. We're all hot gamers. We all have an award to give. So that's the way it's going to work. I haven't said this. We've done a pre-record with Kane already, and he had one game in particular he wanted to talk about, so it works for him. So it works perfectly. We're going to list our games that we've played this year, favorite games that we've played this year, and then have our favorite game, which we'll each have an award associated with, which is what we'll do. Sound cool? Cool. And then we'll also probably at some point we have to discuss Best Darts Game 2020, because that was a running gag that I feel like needs to be resolved. So we'll have that fight somewhere as well. But with that out of the way, we're doing something a bit interesting. Me and Hunter have played a load of games this year, so we're narrowed down our list to only be games this year. Kyle doesn't play as many regular games, so we've allowed Kyle to include games that he's played for the first time this year, just so he has more than 2 games to talk about. Yeah. So yeah, congrats, Kyle.
Yeah, I played a lot of games that came out this year.
You did.
It's just a lot of them weren't very good.
Like you liked a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. So Kyle's gonna have to
look. If there was more to do in Ghost of Tsushima, maybe I would have cared about it.
Oh, don't worry. No Hot Gamer Awards going to Ghost of Tsushima.
People's Game of the Year.
Yeah, no HGA is going to Ghost of Tsushima, I don't think. But yeah, we'll have to see. You've got us 3, and then we'll also have some people popping in pre-records as well later on in the show, based on who I can get my hands on before we record this, which is probably going to be just Kane and Jack. Jack was supposed to be here, but who knows where he is. So we're just going on without him, and we'll add him in later. Who knows? I'm going to start with you, Hunter. You're first up on the HGAs, dude. What's one of your favorite games? What's one of your nominees, technically? Your favorite games of this year?
All right, so I guess for the nominees, we're gonna start where it all began, with Doom Eternal.
Ooh.
Yeah, at least where it all began for me. I think you technically took the first turn talking about Animal Crossing, but jokes.
Wow, very selfish.
Doom Eternal is
actually Hunter picked. Hunter picked.
Yeah.
I was like, which one goes first? And he was like, you can talk first. So it was his choice.
Okay, very selfless, Hunter.
Yeah, very selfless, Hunter. Very cool. Champ. I've just realized. Yeah, go on. Anyway, Doom Eternal. I'm going to turn the record.
Doom Eternal, fast, action-packed, more of what you would expect after Doom 2016, except it's improved or it's reworked the mechanics in a way to where
My tree wasn't
it's
up.
more of a thinking man's game.
Mm-hmm.
Now you gotta like think about what you need or how you need to kill the enemy because you've got your health, your armor, and your ammo. Chances are you're always going to need at least 2 of those things, and depending on how you kill the enemies is what the enemy will drop. Glory kills gives you health, chainsaw kills yields ammo, and setting them on fire gives you armor. It's a nice little circle of mechanics that constantly has you on your toes
Mm-hmm.
and still contributes to the fast action that I loved about the 2016 iteration so much. There's no mamby-pamby hiding behind a corner waiting for the enemies to stop respawning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think we mentioned this in the first episode, is I own the original Doom. I'm not going to do show and tell because I feel like if we start doing show and tell today, that'll just be like the end of it, where the whole thing becomes a video podcast again. I'm doing this for you, audio listeners. But I own... You're welcome. Please leave a 5-star rating.
That's our New Year's resolution. We're going to start being nicer to you guys.
Yeah, but only if you subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Please subscribe. We are so close to 75
We are really
subscribers.
close. If you could get us to that before New Year, that'd be really great. We'd really appreciate it.
I think we're like 3 away at this point.
Yeah, so if we haven't already, if we have, thank you. If we haven't, please hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
We don't know what the future looks
But
like.
no, I have Doom. Doom's on my list of games that just keeps going and going. I've realized that I have such a backlog of games I want to replay and play now that I'm just like kind of like shuddering at the fact. My January is going to be terrible. I've just bought Persona 3, by the way, FES on PS3, nice. So I have that.
Yo,
as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I have Persona 3, I have Xenoblade 2, I have Breath of the Wild again because I want to replay that before the sequel that I think's next year. I also have 3 Houses that I do want to play again at some point, and then what I realized was I own Ratchet and Clank Nexus and I haven't played it, and that's technically the game before the new Ratchet and Clank, so I need to play that as well. My backlog's filled, and Doom's on there as well. God, but Doom Eternal to me is an interesting game because people loved it, but some people prefer. I've heard, well, actually, most people it seems now preferred the original over Eternal. Is the consensus that I've been hearing? Is a lot of people really like the original more. So what is it, would you say, why do you like Doom Eternal? Is the reason?
Well, I guess I could see a certain perspective where the first with 2016's game, that was kind of like an in and out, you're done in like a weekend maybe an afternoon if you dedicate the whole afternoon to it. Doom Eternal's a little longer, so it's not quite as in and out. It gets, but I think it's still suitable as a sequel. It starts off okay, so I think this might be a turnoff for some people. Is it starts off like the beginning of Doom Eternal is almost as hard as the end of Doom 2016.
Oh, nice.
So it just kind of like throws you back into the thick of things real quick, and I think by the time you get to the end, because the difficulty doesn't just start off that way and flatline, it still gradually slopes upwards, it might just be a little too much for people towards the end.
Okay, I feel it. So I don't know, do you have any questions to ask, Kyle? I need some assistance here, because
how much of a jumping in point do you think Doom Eternal would be for new players?
Great question.
Or is it not?
Well, you could start there feasibly. Like I said, it starts off as hard as the other one ended, essentially. So maybe start with 2016. If you like, if you're not used to the crazy, always moving around kind of shooter, then you might want to dip your toes in with the previous game first. But if you're feeling wacky and wild, just go for it.
Nice. And what we should have done, Hunter, was for ours, we should have gone, and if you want to hear more, go to HGO episode whatever and we talk about it more, because we can probably do that now. Yeah. But this one's easy. If you want to hear more, go to HGO episode 1.
Yep.
But no, because that's the fun thing is, now that we've been doing this for like nearly over 9 months at this point, we can now say, hey, go back to the episode because we've got first impressions. So if you want to hear more on it, there you go. But no, Doom Eternal's definitely on my list of eventually. I will get to it one day. One day in the future, maybe. It'll be one of those things where it's like whenever Todd Howard forces me to buy an Xbox, so he's a coward. And I've got Game Pass and Doom Eternal's on now. I'll be like, yeah, he's a coward, dude. He's hiding behind the Series X. I know it. I know where you are, Todd. I know where you are. Release Elder Scrolls 6, you fucking coward. Right, anyway, moving on.
I don't think he could if he wanted.
It's been a decade, Todd. Let it out.
Dude, he's too busy trying to figure out how to put Skyrim on your Roomba.
Yeah, well, you've got to get it on there, dude. You got to get it on there. Okay, I guess I'll go with mine then. I'll go with one of mine, which is ironically also from HGO episode 1. Animal Crossing New Horizons is still on my list of favorite games of this year. Because I played it for the first 3 months, then I dropped off, and then I played it throughout the entirety of November. And then again, I've kind of dropped off again, but I've been playing it like every couple of days, like 2 days a week or something like that. But it's the only main game really that Nintendo themselves released this year. I don't count Paper Mario because Paper Mario is made by its own team, and I don't count the Xenoblade port or 3D All Stars because they're ports. They're in the fucking thing.
Good job remembering that came out this year.
Thank you. I tried. Video game journalist over here. I remember everything. Never forgot that game came out. But no, Animal Crossing New Horizons to me is really good. It's Animal Crossing. I don't know what really to say. That's the thing with Animal Crossing New Horizons is I think everyone was expecting it to be different because they were like, oh, there's crafting and you're on a deserted island, but it very quickly just becomes Animal Crossing again. And if you're into Animal Crossing, like I was really into New Leaf, it's great. I loved it. I've put over 80 hours into Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is plenty to put into a fucking video game when you think about it.
That's a lot.
And I mean, we've had this conversation before, Kyle, I feel, about Animal Crossing, where you put a lot of time into Animal Crossing, even if you only play it for a month. You'll end up putting like 50 hours into it, 80 hours into it, and then you drop off. And with any other game, you'd see that as, I've got my money's worth out of that game. I've played it for 50 odd hours. That's plenty of time to put into a video game. But for Animal Crossing, it feels weird because it feels like you should have been playing it your entire fucking year. And you feel like you failed yourself. It's a waste of money because you haven't, yet you've already put your time in. And that's how I feel with Animal Crossing is. I remember when I went back to it in the past couple of weeks, I was like, I forgot how good this game is because I had just put it into my back of my mind of, oh, it mustn't have been that great because I didn't carry on playing it. And it was just, no, I just got fatigued. It's still a great game. And I'm really happy that it did as well as it did because I feel like Animal Crossing has always been a franchise. For Nintendo, Animal Crossing has been one of those franchises they haven't fucked up. So it's nice for it to get some success. And I really like it. The updates they've been doing are pretty great. They just keep adding and adding to that game and they are carrying on with it. And it's the one Nintendo game of the year that I can wholeheartedly recommend if you like the look of Animal Crossing. I'm like, yeah, go for it. Definitely. I fucking loved it. It was pretty great. I talked about it more in episode 1, so go back to that. But I love Animal Crossing, but Animal Crossing is Animal Crossing. If you're expecting anything revolutionary from Animal Crossing, then don't. Is it Game of the Year? No, it's Animal Crossing. It is for some. It is for some. Is it? It's one of those. It's one of those with Fall Guys, I feel, and Among Us, where it's like it very much captured the zeitgeist of the entirety of social media for a long period of time when it came out. So in that way, is it Game of the Year in terms of notoriety and popularity? I'd probably say it is because Animal Crossing reached so many people. It's either that or Among Us, but both of them were fucking huge, so it's hard to compare.
I feel like Animal Crossing, well, I guess time will tell with Among Us, but Animal Crossing felt more sustained. Like, it felt like every couple of weeks for like months on end, I was hearing about some new celebrity being like, oh, look at me, I've got Animal Crossing now.
I honestly think Animal Crossing was... I honestly think that Animal Crossing was from like, when it came out in March, like all the way to like June, July, people were still like really fucking talking about it. And then it was when Fall Guys and Among Us came around when people started... the zeitgeist kind of muted, but it's still there, and that's what I'm kind of surprised.
Like, is the thing.
It's not like any other Nintendo game where it's big for the first month or so, and then it just takes a massive shit and dies, like Mario Maker 2, where that game did just drop off a cliff. It genuinely dropped off a cliff. No one
Yeah.
plays it. More people
Really
watch it
did.
on YouTube than they play it. Where Animal Crossing stars consistent people playing it. There's so many people that are still playing Animal Crossing, and more to come. 20 odd million units sold. It's fucking. It's been huge for Nintendo, and it's really well deserved. I loved it. It's great, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't. But hey, if you look at Animal Crossing, you're like, there's got to be something more to this. There isn't. So go in with set expectations. Don't expect to be. If you're not the kind of person that just likes having a game where you boot it up for 5 to 10 minutes a day, talk to everyone, collect your stuff, do whatever you want, and then bounce, then it's not for you. But there you go. I loved Animal Crossing. And I can't wait to see what Nintendo does this year, because I really hope there's more than one game coming out. We'll see. Kyle, let's go for you. What's your first?
Well, I suppose I'll start with a game that came out in 2020.
Ooh, go on,
Start things off right.
Go on, then.
From
Tease us.
My big old list. This is just a white screen. Look at this list. Come on, phone, you can do it.
For audio,
come on, you can do it.
I believe in you.
It's not
for, for audio listeners.
It's a big list, trust me.
For audio listeners, Kyle tried to stick his phone on the into the webcam for it to focus, knowing full well that it wouldn't.
Hey,
and
don't give me too much credit.
And wasted everyone's time, and now I've wasted even more of your time by explaining it to audio listeners. You're welcome. Kyle, what is it?
We're going to talk about Trials of Mana.
I knew this was going to be
the PS4,
I knew this was going to be
Switch, and Steam.
Cool. Take the stage, bud. All yours.
So I talked about this game back in June when we did our Game of the Year so far. I don't remember what episode.
I'll go find it for you guys, but you carry on talking.
You're a peach. Anyways, Trials of Mana, it was a bizarre game that I ended up enjoying a lot more than I thought I was going to. It's a very simplistic JRPG. It has live action combat akin to a watered down version of how Final Fantasy VII Remake plays.
HGO 17, by the way, for those that actually want to go and listen.
It's right at the start of the video. You don't have to go far to find my impressions on it.
I have timestamped nearly every episode of this podcast, so don't you worry. Go to the timestamps; they'll be there for you. Yeah.
But yeah, the game, it's very simple. You start off, you pick 3 of the 6 characters, and then you go through the story of the first character you pick. That is basically your main character, and the other 2 are just kind of along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
The game itself, when I played it, it wasn't too hard, but a recent free update has come out to add in a very hard mode. I haven't gotten a chance to try that out yet, but I am interested in going back to it. It's definitely a very easy pick up and play game if you just need a short JRPG to play.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to sit down for like 60 hours with one game.
How dare you?
Trials of Mana, it's like a quick 20-hour journey. Like, I think I got it done in a weekend. Near enough a weekend, but the game is a lot of fun, and it's also super replayable just with how many different team comps you can make. And then that's not even factoring in the class system, which basically each time you get to a certain level, you can choose to branch off to one of your next classes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a light and a dark route on each character, and then that branches off, those branch off, and then those branch off even further. So there's a lot of depth to what you can do.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It really is. There's a lot of depth to what you can do with your party, and honestly, the game's super replayable. The characters are really enjoyable, even though the dialogue and delivery is kind of hit or miss at times, because it's a Square game.
Your webcam has frozen, by the way, Kyle. I'm just going to let you know.
Hell yeah! Woo!
You're doing like a great. You're doing like a great pog face, dude. You're doing like a great. You looked like you were fucking loving it. You're like this. You're like.
Clip that out for the thumbnail.
I lost my train of thought. Voice actors. Voice actors are kind of hit or miss. You'll either just find the characters either really good or super cringy, like they're just reading the script, not really trying to act with their voice. I do want to give a quick shout out to Riza's voice actor, Brittany Cox. She's also did the voice for Ingrid in Fire Emblem Three Houses.
God, which one's Ingrid
So-
again? I like Ingrid. I like that one.
Blonde spear user.
Yeah, I like that one.
And funnily enough, in Trials of Mana, she voices a blonde spear user. So
Typecast.
Nice.
You love to see it.
But yeah, the game's super fun. It goes on sale like every week because Square has given up on this game.
Nah, I want to take it to heart. Square
Not
does
many
that with
people bought
everything.
it.
If they released it before, like 2 weeks before Final Fantasy VII,
Yeah.
I feel like their expectations. It had to have at least met their expectations. They can't have had too high of hopes for it.
Yeah,
I mean, you also got to remember.
I feel
Final
like it
Fantasy
hit
had
the
that,
audience it tried to hit.
Yeah, Final Fantasy had that
I feel
weird
like it
release
hit the
as well.
audience it tried to hit.
Sorry, Kyle. I keep cutting you off. Go for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Go for it. Go for
It
it.
definitely hit the audience it tried to hit, and then didn't really expand outside of that. But honestly, give the game a shot. It's super accessible on like 3 different consoles. Goes on sale just about every other week. So I honestly can't recommend the game enough.
Cool. Thank you, Kyle.
No problem.
That'll be interesting.
Anything for you, boss?
Yeah. All I was thinking during that was just you lagging. I'm just thinking of future me having to deal with that. I'm already seeing myself banging my head. I'll be like, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun challenge to edit. I can't wait for that one. Hunter, I guess you're up again. What's next for
Alrighty.
you?
Next for me would be Ikenfell. I don't remember the episode number for the game, or when I talked about this the first time.
I'm
but
on
I did
it.
Talk about it on the podcast.
Go for it. You keep going. I'll keep looking.
Anyway, Ikenfell is this cool little indie RPG about this girl going to hunt down her sister at witch school. Complications get in the way. The gameplay is real cool because it's like this grid-based thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's not like any MP points or anything, so it's all about like how you position stuff and the kind of damage you'd be doing to that specific enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And each character has their own kind of drawbacks and stuff. It's one of those RPGs where I actually thought about buffs and debuffs more than I typically do. Like, that's always an afterthought for me with stuff like Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But not with this game, because it was real helpful. Or a hindrance, depending on what end of the stick I was on. But yeah, so the gameplay is real cool, and the story is rather heartfelt. It has a whole bunch of people from different walks of life overcoming their struggles in a manner that I found pleasing. The music's great, it sets the tone for everything. Battles, areas, characters. It's impeccable. And yeah, I couldn't it's also relatively short, so if you're looking for something I think I clocked in 11 or 12 hours, and at least an hour and a half of that was because it doesn't the clock doesn't stop when you push the PlayStation button. So yeah.
But I have the HGO number. It is HGO episode 32, Crown Tundra episode. For those
Nice.
who didn't know. So there you go.
My episode.
Yeah. You can go back to that. But no, it looks interesting. My problem with indie games is I always find it hard to slot them in. That's my main problem.
Oh, yeah.
Is I'm really bad at playing indie games, and it's one of those things where it's I played Celeste a year, 2 years after it came out. I know I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. But also I've got all this. Yeah, it was.
Celeste only came out in 2018.
Yeah, I played it mid 2019, 2019, I think. Yeah.
I played Celeste this year.
Did you? Nice. Well,
I did.
It's a good game.
It's a good game, but no.
It was enjoyable. I have not gone back to it since beating it.
Same.
But it was enjoyable.
I played it in one sitting and then didn't touch it again, which is kind of bad.
I went back to it a year after I beat it. I was like, God, I love this game. It's so good.
But no,
I'm just not a big platformer guy, but I got the game super cheap, so
yeah. But no, Ikenfell looks interesting. I definitely do want to check it out. It's not along the same lines, but this is the best of a segue you're gonna get. So along the same lines, I'm gonna my pick for smaller game that I really liked, and I say smaller, I just mean smaller scale rather than smaller expenses. Is it's a game both me and Hunter played, which is Tell Me Why. HGO 24, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to go and hear our first impressions on that. And we also have a spoiler cast, which was like episode 26 or something. I'll double check that. 26, nailed it. So we've got you covered on all bases.
He never misses.
I never miss, dude. But no, Tell Me Why was a massive surprise to me because Life is Strange 2, I had a really mixed reaction to Life is Strange 2. I liked a lot of it. I also disliked a lot of it as well. It was a very mixed bag for me, especially after I really liked Life is Strange 1 and Before the Storm. Life is Strange 2 just didn't kind of hit me in the same way that I thought it would. So to come back to Don't Nod, to play Tell Me Why, which was released over 3 weeks, 3 episodes, 3 weeks, it's fucking fantastic. It's the best Don't Nod game that they've ever done. I absolutely adored it.
Can confirm.
Just from everything, the performances in that game are exceptional. Erica Lindbeck, as always, is amazing as she usually is. I can't remember the name of the guy that plays
August Aiden Black.
Also a really fucking good job. And a majority of the cast for that game was exceptional, and the story was really well done. There were plot twists that weren't fucking gimmicky. There was a real story to be told, and it all kind of felt heartfelt and actually felt quite personal. So good job, Don't Nod. I liked it quite a bit. It's also a really good reason to get Game Pass, because both me and Hunter both played it on Game Pass. So
Yep,
it was a really good thing. So hey, if you haven't got Game Pass, you can get it on Game Pass PC and on Game Pass Xbox. So if you're sitting there with your shiny new Xbox fridge and you've got nothing to play on it yet because Phil forgot to bring out the Halo, play Tell Me Why, because it's really good.
It's also paced much better than Don't Nod's other games.
It's shorter, but it's better. It's more well-rounded as a story. It doesn't really waste your time as much as, especially Life is Strange 2 very much feels like it's wasting your time at points, whereas this one very much feels like a refined experience. And yeah, really well done. Won an award at the Game Awards, and I was very happy that it did win that category because I was like, it deserves that win. So well done. I don't really have much to add to it. We have whole episodes on that game. I feel like we've spoken about it to death. So again, we are just going to refer you to HGO numbers. So for that one, 24 and 26, if you want everything to do with Tell Me Why. Myself and Hunter enjoyed it quite a bit. Kyle, I guess you're up again, my friend.
Dude, it's amazing what happens when you have a catalog of things you can just refer people to and be like, here's what I thought about it in the moment when I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty great because it's whenever you forget what was my, like, I always have that where I'm like, what did I originally think of this game when I first played it? You know, it's like I kind of forget how I kind of felt, and the fact that there's now a backlog where I'm like, oh yeah, I can very clearly.
Oh yeah, this is how I felt.
Yeah, it's pretty useful. Not gonna lie.
It's like Hunter, when you were writing your script for your games that came out this year, you're like, what did I think about Doom Eternal when it first came out? I'm like, well, there's a video talking about it. Yeah, I think this is what you thought about it.
Funny. Let me just go and chop up that to make it sound or fit in a 5-minute segment.
I deserve a writing credit if you've done that. I deserve a writing credit.
You deserve a writing credit for me talking.
Yeah, I asked you the questions. I asked the questions. I deserve a writing credit.
I didn't really do that. I still wrote the entry and voiced the.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
How dare me?
How dare you? Anyway, Kyle, moving on. What's your pick?
Anyways, this is a game that technically came out this year.
Okay.
It's called Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition on the Nintendo Switch.
I can't believe I have to write Devil May Cry 3 again. God. Damn it. Alright.
Anything to make your life harder.
The other ones and you can switch the number.
I have 5 coming. Don't worry. I'll get to it eventually.
Get it over with then. Go on. Get the spiel out that you and Hunter have every 3 weeks. Let's get it over. Well, I sit here dead.
Yeah. Persona 5.
I don't know what you're on about. I have no recollection of what you're talking about.
Yeah, Ethan's right. I've talked about this game so much. You can click any episode. I've talked about it probably there. Like, I don't have anything more to add. The game came out on Switch super cheap. It's Devil May Cry 3. Like, if you don't know about it, go freaking buy it right now. On PS4, Switch, Steam, maybe Xbox. I don't fucking know. Who owns
I
that garbage
believe it's
thing?
on Xbox
Well, there you
as
go. It's
well.
on everything. You have no excuse to not play it. If you play it on the Switch version, you can get the style switching, which lets you do crazy combos and shit and make the game look crazy fun. I'm not good at that, but man, it looks cool to watch other people do it.
It's actually a thing that I may just buy that version of the game for eventually, because I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man, playing with the style switcher in 3 sounds like it would be real fun.
Yeah.
It's like I did a few playthroughs of it because it's such a replayable game, but I did one playthrough where I didn't use the style switching, and I'm like, this game just feels so empty now. Like, especially when it comes to
It was hard to
like
pull
Devil May
off
Cry
with
3.
PS2 technology.
Yeah. It works especially well in DMC3 because there are like unique styles that you don't start with, which are kind of gimmicky and situational, but with the style switching and being able to use those anytime, like it can blend itself into the combat so well.
Yeah, I would never use Quicksilver or Doppelganger.
Yeah.
Ever. Aside from when I first got it and was like, what's this? And then the other like half a dozen times I've played the game for that version, I never did it again.
Exactly.
For those of you, Cal talks about it in any episode. You're welcome. I have just been browsing the entirety of our HGO catalog to find a timestamp for a Devil May Cry 3. So if you do want to go check something out like that, go check out the 16 games that exceeded our expectations episode 30 of HGO. He does have a segment where he talks about Devil May Cry 3 there. That isn't the only one, so go and have fun browsing the catalog, find all the Easter eggs. But
there's also the Halloween episode where I just talked about Virgil.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
I enjoyed doing that. Virgil's great.
So yeah, that's
God, he's so cool.
Episode 30 is a great one if you want to know about Devil May Cry 3 more. But
genuinely, the Halloween episode's just so fun. Go watch that one.
Yeah, it is.
I enjoyed recording it.
I had so much fun.
I enjoy it. But we need to eventually. I think around March time we need to do like going back over.
That'll be the 1 year.
Yeah, but gosh, that was so. I had nothing. I've never been less prepared for a HGO episode in my life, and that it shows. It shows so hard in that episode. Man. It shows so hard. Anyway, moving on. Hunter, back to 2020 real quick. Fucking time jump back to the.
Oh,
the game came out this year. Kiss my ass.
Came out for Switch this year. He's got a point.
Time jumping back. Yeah. Right, hang on. Time jumping back to relevant video games. What?
I will send us back so far in time.
What's on your list, Hunter? What's next?
It's funny you mentioned time jumping because my next one is Age of Calamity: Hyrule Warriors.
Ooh, nice. A game that I still have not played. Yeah.
And a game
Part
that
of me
I
really thought you were going to say Crash 4, and I don't know
why. That's funny. And a game that I have talked about on some podcasts, and I have a review. Check that out more because those are the most focused thoughts there.
Yeah, you should go check out his review. It's really well done. So check that out, or go to HGO episode 36 for first impressions. There you go. Wow, we're on it.
Wow.
But anyway, Hunter, go into it a little bit more.
All right, so Age of Calamity, being set up as like a prequel to Breath of the Wild automatically has my interest because more of the world of Breath of the Wild makes me happy, and the way that they the cool character moments were great. It made me chuckle every time. They managed to nail the fighting styles for all of the characters, like even Zelda, who Sakurai in one of the Smash Bros things, I remember, or one of the disembodied narrators. I don't remember if it was Sakurai specifically.
It was E3.
But
it was E3 when they showed it off.
Yeah.
They besmirched Breath of the Wild Zelda, saying that she's not a fighter, and that's why they used like the Link to the Past or Link Between Worlds design, whichever one that is.
And, same difference.
Yeah.
I still like that Zelda design, by the way. It's just
it is a good design. I'm not upset. It would have been cool if like she got a Breath of the Wild skin, but It's
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Oh well.
Anyway,
Oh well, we'll just cry.
they
She'll be the next DLC character.
Yeah. Oh man, take my money.
Turns out she's a fighter, guys. Look at all this.
Look at all this stuff she did in Age of Calamity, which they managed to incorporate that well, because as a character, she isn't a fighter, and they animate it to where it looks like she doesn't really know what she's doing. But, it's still a cohesive fighting style when you actually use the thing. It's great. And, other characters like Urbosa is probably my favorite. She's just real fast and ferocious. Her lightning mechanic is amazing. Like, it enhances her strong attacks, and like there's a bit of a rhythm type of thing to it where if you hit the button at the end of a combo, it'll just get a section of the meter back. And that's like my favorite thing, because you could just be lame and stop for a second to refill it, or you could be cool and just keep your combo up, which is how I like to play.
Nice.
But yeah, it's not a hard game by any stretch of the imagination. Any combo will basically kill just a fistful of enemies all the time. So really, you're just learning the combos for visual variety, not like any necessary element of survival, but it's still like a lot of fun. And it manages to add on like enough extra content to where I felt like I was getting my money's worth. Excuse me, with all the side missions and stuff. Yeah, which I guess it's up to whoever is playing it on how much that actually adds, because I could see how it could feel like padding. I guess just because I was into the world, I was into, help the people of Hyrule do this, but it wasn't like substantial by any stretch of the imagination, but I still liked doing it. So,
Nice. Very cool. I can't wait to play it. It's genuinely, I'll be playing, probably as of this video going up, I'll be playing it, but I don't have it yet, so I'm looking forward to it, because it's the one game that I feel like I've missed. So I need to catch up on it. Now watch as Ethan really quickly tries to figure out what he's going to say his next game is, because I lied. I'm also unprepared for this episode as well, everyone. It's great. I'm
hurry, throw it to Kane to buy you some time.
No. Imagine if I did, and then we just cut out
totally could
20 minutes of me. No, he can have his talk at the end.
Now a word from our sponsors.
No, he can't. He can come in at the end and think about what he did. You know what? I wasn't gonna mention it because I thought it's a bit of a meme, but fuck it. I am actually the longer it's been since I played it, the more I actually want to talk about it. In fact, I'm gonna give it 2. I'm gonna do 2 because they're both really small games. So they're both PS5 things. I'm just gonna I'll work that out. First one's Astro's Playroom. I was really surprised with how good that was. It's a really good demo that comes with the PS5, which is about 3 hours long, and it's really well made. That was also episode 36. If you guys want to hear more impressions on that, but man, if you get whenever you end up getting a PS5, go and play Astro's Playroom. Don't go, oh, it's just a packing game. Delete. Let me go play my Call of Duty or whatever real quick. It's let me go play my Madden. Right? Let's get that real gamer stuff. No, actually play it because it's really well done, and it's a really short but sweet platformer that's really well done and is a lot better than most of the platformers that come out nowadays. So definitely go and check it out. And then the other one that I want to mention is Bugsnax. Yeah, it's really fucking good. It's a really good indie game that has a stellar cast of characters, and has a stellar fucking gameplay loop, which is really fun. It's a bit buggy, by the name.
Is it a bit snacky too?
It's a bit snacky.
A bit snacky as well.
Yeah, let's all make the joke. Dude. Let's all make the joke. But no, it is. It's a bit buggy. It's a bit finicky here and there, but it's a really interesting game that I still think about. I didn't think after I finished Bugsnax I'd be still thinking about Bugsnax. But hey, the song says that you'd be thinking about Bugsnax, and it's right, because it's a really interesting.
I like the notion of Ethan just late at night looking out his window and thinking about how that game ended just months from now.
It is one of those things where I'll be lying in bed and I'll be like, Oh, they give the thing like there's a thing like one of the lines in the song that you don't really you just think, oh, it's just a line in the song that Cara Bonito made. Oh, it's just a random line, and you're like, no, they inherently put that there, and it's for a much sinister way than you thought it was. And I'm like, that's kind of cool how they like hide stuff like that even in the fucking happy song. It's like, oh, the creepy stuff's still in there, and you can kind of feel it if you actually play the game. You know, you're like, oh, that line means something completely different now that I've played the game. So it's kind of cool like that. But no, Bugsnax was just really fun. Again, it was free with Plus. It still is free with Plus, even when you're watching this in the future. Wow. So if you haven't already, go claim it, because even if you don't have a PS5 now, you can claim it if you're a Plus member and play it when you get your PS5. It's really well done. It's really fun. Again, short and sweet, but it was a really interesting experience. And if you have been asking for Pokemon Snap, because God knows Pokemon Snap, whatever this new one's called, I think it's just called New Pokemon Snap or something fucking tragic like that. It's going to be garbage because of course it's going to be. So play Bugsnax. Basically, Ape Escape meets it's basically Ape Escape meets Pokemon Snap, and it's really good. So yeah, play it. Pretty damn good. Right, Kyle, back into the fucking time machine we go. What are you posing as a 2020 release this time?
I was actually going to talk about a game that came out in 2020 this time.
Go for it. I'm out the time machine.
Oh man, I got permission.
Yeah, I'm out.
Wow.
Let me get out the time machine.
Oh shit.
Don't need it.
Wow.
Don't need it. Go on then.
All right. So let's talk about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. I talked about this in the same episode I talked about Trials of Mana, game of the year so far. Episode 16, is that it? Yeah.
Maybe. You
Cool.
talk, and then I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. You keep going.
All right. So, Rescue Team DX is a remake
17,
of the
you were
original
wrong.
Pokemon.
Carry on.
God damn it! It's a
Anyway, carry on.
There's no one upstairs, so I can be really loud.
Oh,
nice. Anyways, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is a remake of the original Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue Rescue Team that came out on the Game Boy and the DS.
Yeah.
They got a huge visual update. It looks more like a storybook style of game now, and I really love the visual direction they went with it.
It does look really nice.
Yeah, the games. So it is just the original Red and Blue Rescue Team with a new coat of paint, but in addition to that, they've also included stuff that's been released in the newer games. So you have your fairy types, your Mega Evolutions, your Gen 6 Pokemon, I think is what it goes up to. Yeah, because Sylveon is in the game, and that's the only Gen 6 Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So all the older Pokemon have their new evolutions that they got in Gen 4. So like Roserade exists, Frostlass, Mamoswine, Pokemon like that. It's still the same great dungeon crawler roguelike game that you played, that you maybe played back in the old days. I played it. I loved it as a kid. Game is still super challenging too. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to enjoy. Veterans can come into the game, kind of be familiar and still learn how the new mechanics work, and any newcomers, like, the game's super helpful into easing you in. I don't know if it's just because I've gotten better as a game player now than I was as a kid, but I thought that the game was a little easier than I remember it being as a kid on the original. But again, that could just be me being better.
Probably.
And me actually caring about team comp.
Yeah, probably.
And not just taking the Pokemon I want.
Nah, take the Pokemon you want, dude. Take the Pokemon you want.
I mean, I still kind of did that. Game also has a really good cast of characters, and they give a lot of how the Pokemon are portrayed in Mystery Dungeon translate to how much I like them as actual Pokemon, like in the main series. Absol especially, I need to give a huge shout out to. The way Absol's used in this game is so well done. But I don't want to turn this into a spoiler cast, so
yeah,
for a game that came out back in 2006.
Yeah, true.
Originally,
hey, they said it.
We're like half in the time machine right now.
They said it couldn't be done. Let's just stop doing spoiler casts for really old games. Wow, guys, can you believe that ending to Metal Gear Solid? Wow.
Oh man, I know, right?
I don't.
No. Maybe.
Well, I do.
Well,
I own the original Metal Gear on PS1. I should play it at some point.
yeah, maybe you should. Maybe
It's
you
a
can
fun time.
put it in your 2021 game of the year.
And you can play it. Do
Yeah.
a spoiler cast.
That's part of the January backlog.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll play it.
Right, Hunter. What's on your list next?
Oh, it is mine. Okay.
Yes, it's your turn. Yes, it is your turn.
Speaking of games that came out a while ago that we have spoiler casts for, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Ah, yes.
Now that is next up because it was really good. Honestly, a lot of the second half of this year was a surprise to me because, like, going into when we did the Game of the Year so far thing, I thought my top 5 was like locked. I thought Final Fantasy VII Remake was going to be the game of the year, and I was proven wrong. Pleasantly surprised, in fact. Anyway, Final Fantasy VII Remake, vitally, I think the best thing it did was, again, capture the spirit of the Final Fantasy series that I haven't felt since the PS2 games.
Yeah.
Our MMOs notwithstanding, I haven't really played like 11 or 14 enough, but it feels like they have the same kind of vibe that I would enjoy. I just don't have the energy for MMOs.
Or
but
money.
The mainline games have, taken a bit of a dip over the years, in my opinion, and Remake has brought it back for me. And I quite enjoy it. They managed to update the combat to be this real cool, like, it leans heavier into an action RPG kind of thing, but it vitally still maintained like the ATB meter, which was a really good touch because it gives it an identity over other boring action RPGs. Now you've got this cool thing where you slow down time and just choose a move to wreck your opposition with, and it's real satisfying when that happens.
Yeah.
They managed to, finally, mercifully do that stupid stagger meter correctly.
It only took like 5 tries, but they've finally done it.
5 tries, 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they did it.
Shoutouts to Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
Shouts to every game
where they don't even
Nomura
tell
has
you that
touched
thing
in the
exists.
past 10 years. Dude, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, they managed to, update the gameplay. The characters all are just delightful. Cloud again feels like Cloud, jerk who's good at what he does. Not I'm gonna ride around on my motorcycle and sigh a lot.
Not edgy. Yeah, not edgelord, just kind of introverted, kind of.
Yeah. Tifa's great. Barrett's amazing. His speeches are a wonder to behold.
They kept the cheesiness of Barrett, but it still works, which is what I absolutely adore. He is still this big fucking Mr. T stereotype of just he's Crunch Bandicoot, dude. He is Crunch Bandicoot. That's what he is. He's great. You love to see it.
It's amazing.
But it still works so well, and the voice actor actually got him. It feels like that's the thing is all these voice actors for a Remake felt like they got who their characters were and what they had to do. It wasn't no one was miscast, which is very rare for a Square Enix game for nobody to be miscast. Usually it's everyone's miscast, but now it's fucking nobody, and it's so good. And it's one of my favorites that have come out this year. I love Remake to pieces. I want to go back and play it at some point. I'm still holding out that they're going to do a next gen version, but I'm so tempted.
It's one of those games where I think about it, I'm like, man, I could play it again if I really wanted to, but then I think about other games and I'm like, I guess I'll play you instead.
Yeah. But it's so good where it is, man. And it's one of those. It's a combat system that's not complicated. But it's not trying to be complicated either. It's very simple to learn and it's simple to master, which is something, especially in the hack and slash genre, especially in an action RPG genre, is kind of refreshing for it to be like, oh, everyone can kind of get behind this combat system instead of it being anything else that Square Enix does, where as much as people like Kingdom Hearts combat, it very much is only for the fucking hardcore of hardcore fans, where most people are just mashing X and going, this is a bit fucking boring, isn't it? Whereas it's like, oh no, if you put the time into it, but it's so complicated that everyone's like, I don't want to fucking spend the time on it. Whereas FF7 is very much,
It's
you
a lot
have,
of trial and error.
you have your standard moveset, you have your ATB, go wild. Literally, you get like, there's so many ways to handle a situation. There's not just there's one. Oh, sorry, you fucking didn't hit the fucking dodge button in the 2-frame window, so you're dead. There's none of that shit. It's kind of, it very much.
And all the characters play differently enough to feel like refreshing.
None of them
and
feel
it makes
gimmicky
you,
as well, which is a surprise. Because
it's real cool.
the whole, that's one thing that I forgot until you mentioned it, was the whole game is built around having 3 party members at all times. It isn't there are a couple of sections where you can, actually I think there's like 1 or 2 sections where you can pick who your 3 characters are, and I think, spoiler alert, I think it's just final boss. But every other chapter is built around those 3 fucking characters, and it's brilliant how they did that. And I hope in part 2, when they add more characters to this cast, which is going to happen, I hope they still stick to that. I really hope they still stick to, here's the chapter, these are the characters that you're going to be playing in this chapter, because it worked so well. Every chapter was built for those 3 characters. You're never feeling, oh, Barrett feels useless here, because he isn't, because the levels are designed for Barrett to be useful and for him to have a place. And that's what I fucking love about this game, is how it took forever to get here, but they really did think through everything. And nothing feels wasted, which is incredible for a Square Enix game, where it's super satisfying and nothing feels wasted. I fucking love Remake to pieces. Still do. Absolutely.
The music's great.
And the music,
I feel like I always forget to mention that when I talk about it on the podcast, which, episodes, I believe 4 and 5 is where I first talked about those. If we're going to keep this bit
oh
up.
yes, if we're going to keep talking, it's episodes 4, 5,
and we have a
episodes 4 and 5 for impressions, 11 for spoiler cast, if you want to hear impressions. If you want to hear me and Hunter talk about Remake a lot, there you go. Kyle, you haven't played it yet, have you? Or do you have it? You have it, don't you?
At the time of playing, I haven't. At the time of recording, I haven't played it. But by the time this goes up, I will probably own it.
Okay, cool.
So, nice. But I may also be playing Devil May Cry 5.
One or the other.
So,
both good games. Nice. But yeah,
we'll save it for January.
I love Remake.
We need to do something that month.
I love Remake, and I've put this my next game. I've put this game off for a while so that the angry people can fuck off and not get to this point. And if you get triggered at a certain video game that came out this year, please go to the timestamps below where you can skip over it and not abuse us in the comments. That'd be great. But I'm gonna have to mention The Last of Us Part 2. Say what you want about this game. Some people love it, some people hate it. The one thing you can say is, man, did it make a conversation happen about games and stories in games, because fucking hell, did people not want to let this one go? To me, I have sat on The Last of Us Part 2 for 6 months now. It's been over 6 months, right? I've sat on this game thinking about it a lot, and I've thought about it a lot, and I think gameplay-wise, it's far better than The Last of Us Part 1. Gameplay-wise, it's night and day, the difference. And to me, people really hate this fucking story, but the more that I think about the story, and let me just say, I thought more about Last of Us Part 2 story than I ever did about Last of Us 1 story, which, ode to Naughty Dog and Druckmann, that's what they intended to do, was make a think piece of, hey, think about this. This isn't just going to be a black and white story. Think about this fucking thing. Which, funny enough, they wanted you to think. They wanted people to get angry and feel stuff about this game. I just don't think they wanted the death threats. Which, valid criticism. I love Last of Us Part 2. And I think in many ways it's better than the first game. I honestly think that as a point A to point B story goes, actual narrative, it's better than The Last of Us. It's a better narrative. I think the character is what you're missing. I think the dynamics between Joel and Ellie are sorely missed. And I feel like that's what everyone misses, is that character dynamic. You feel like void, but you're supposed to, spoiler alert, you're supposed to feel that fucking void. It's supposed to feel like you're uncomfortable and it's not there. that's the intention. But I feel like that's if people thought that Joel and Ellie's bond, that dynamic was The Last of Us, then yes, I can see why they're upset. But to me, as a narrative plot from point A to point fucking D with that game, with how many twists and turns that fucker takes,
Yeah.
I think it's a better story narratively. I just do. I loved The Last of Us Part 2. I'm not scared of saying I loved The Last of Us Part 2. And it's not me being a fucking Naughty Dog fan. I've said it many times before. I think Uncharted is extremely overrated. I think The Last of Us 1's a bit overrated, to be honest. I really loved The Last of Us Part 2. And I even had the game spoilt for me. And I was one of those people that was like, man, this game's going to suck, isn't it? Just hearing those fucking bullet points on paper, just written down. This game's going to fucking suck. And then what do you know? I actually gave the game a chance and fucking played it. And I ended up really enjoying it and enjoying my time with it. Is it perfect? Fuck no, is it perfect? But
oh man, yeah, pacing in that game is my
fucking,
biggest issue with it.
A part of me feels like Kyle, who you haven't played it. Basically, you play three. It's each character. You play half the game as Ellie,
I'm
half as
familiar.
Abby, 3 days over the course of each two.
Yeah,
and you play Ellie's 3 days, and then you play Abby's 3 days. And I feel like they could have worked with the pacing a bit, where you played Ellie, Abby, and kept switching between them day to day. I feel that would have done the pacing wonders, just because it would have given people more of a chance to attach to Abby. Because to me, Abby's a great character. And it fucking annoys the shit out of me when people are always criticizing her just because of what she did in the game. When I'm like, when you actually get a chance to see Laura Bailey's performance and actually have a chance to see where this character goes, it's a really fucking interesting story arc, and I really liked it. Like, we've talked about it to death. I'll get the HGO numbers up right now if you want to go and see us talk about how we feel about this game. It's 14 and 15.
Yeah. First impressions and then the full spoilers the next week.
Yeah, we did it back to back because we just wanted to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
But say what you want about it. It was really definitely a think piece, and I think it is same as how Last of Us Part 1 was a movement in storytelling in video games for the last generation. Coming into this, a lot of games took inspiration from The Last of Us to widely change their narratives and actually go for interesting storytelling in video games. I feel like The Last of Us Part 2 has opened the floodgates to actually fucking trying new things. Now, whether it happens, I don't think it's going to happen with Ubisoft or any of those AAA developers that are just trying to get people's money. But I think Naughty Dog sees this as a success. I think Sony also sees this as a success.
Yeah.
I think especially for Microsoft, like for own studios, self-published games from now on, I feel like the floodgates are open for more expansive and more interesting storytelling and narratives from The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like it took a bullet so that everyone else can fucking run with it. Because the next time the more of this happens, the less people are going to get fucking angry. Or the less people there are going to be that can have it fucking with a straight face be angry. Because there you go. But no, I loved The Last of Us Part 2. It's a great game. Is it incredible? No. I don't think the gameplay is stellar. Should it have been Game of the Year? Fuck no, because of all the crunch. Fuck you, Naughty Dog. You shouldn't be crunching like that. Same with CD Projekt Red, except we don't have to have Game of the Year discussions without them. No one's gonna remember that. But no, it shouldn't win Best Direction and stuff like that, because obviously crunch is really bad and they crunch their fucking asses off. But
also, the direction was the same direction that it was for every other Naughty Dog game.
It's Naughty Dog direction. It's camera it's camera pans and fucking cuts to black. It's the same as always. But it was really beautifully done, and I feel like it's really well done. And whether you like it or not, that's what it was supposed to be. And I think that it's going to be a game that people keep talking about as the years go by. It's going to be an interesting. I think that game's gonna. People still hate it now. Give it 5 years, and you can come back and say that I'm wrong in 5 years' time. I feel more and more people are going to warm up to that game as time goes on. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to add on is just as like an outside looking in on the whole
debacle,
Last of Us 2 discourse that went down. Like, I need to praise Naughty Dog for at least doing something different. Like, they very easily could have just made Last of Us Part 2 another fucking AAA game with everything you'd expect and just make it as friggin' bare bones as possible. But they didn't. They decided to go out of their way, take risks, and tell a story that would stick with people, regardless of how you felt about it, whether positive or negative.
Yeah.
Like,
They could have just
And
done Joel
that-
and Ellie have an adventure again, yeah.
yeah, like,
Oh,
that to
boy,
me
yeah.
is the mark. If a story leaves an impression on you, good or bad, that's the mark of good storytelling.
Yeah.
Contrast that with another game like Ghost of Tsushima, which, outside of the opening bits, I don't remember a single set piece from that game. It was the most bare bones, bland game that came out this year, and I am really glad it didn't win Game of the Year, and it still blows my mind why people think it's so good and why it won Players Game of the Year. But
Ghost of Tsushima
doesn't
does
mean
get a
anything
special
now.
award from me, actually, this year. Ghost of Tsushima gets my best 7 out of 10 game of the year award. Acknowledged for
Exactly.
the best fine game of the year. Where is that? So my best 7
Yeah.
out of 10 award goes to Ghost of Tsushima for being exactly what it says on the tin and nothing more.
A solid, good game.
It is a good game, full stop.
And nothing unique.
Ghost of Tsushima Legends, I haven't played. I've heard interesting things about it. Because that's more based on the fantasy mythos of Japan and stuff like that. With a co-op like kind of fantasy mode, which looks more interesting than what they tried to pull off in the actual game. So
I hope if they make a sequel, they lean into like the fantasy mythos of Japan a little bit more.
Yeah,
that would be fun. Because every time it seemed like they were going that direction in the actual game, it was like, oh no, it was just someone up to hijinks,
yeah,
playing some trick.
So yeah,
and I'm just like, yeah, every time you can't have him fight an actual like yokai once. Would it be too much to ask?
Exactly.
But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. Like, the fact that Last of Us Part 2 resonated with so many people in so many different ways, it really speaks to what Naughty Dog accomplished with the game.
Yeah.
Now, whether they set out to deliberately do that or not,
which they did,
that's
think.
all. Yeah.
But I can't believe I mentioned
Yeah.
Play Watch Listen a fucking game. But Troy Baker, who was on Play Watch Listen, hey guys, I'm basically just free advertising for that fucking podcast now. Don't listen to that. Oh, listen to that.
like they need the help.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need
like Troy Baker.
They don't need that.
Austin
Ask them to
Wintory.
return the favor.
But no, apparently, according to Troy and others, everyone knew going into review cycle, going into this game's release, they all knew what they had made, and Laura Bailey knew what she signed up for, and everyone kind of knew going in that this isn't. I think Troy's words were, "We knew this wasn't going to get the universal love that the last one did. We knew that we were going to annoy, like we were going to cause a conflict with people, and that was the intention." Because I think everyone was surprised when Neil Druckmann's first things that he said about the game was The Last of Us Part 1. If The Last of Us Part 1 was love, The Last of Us Part 2 is hate. He said that was the first thing he said about it in 2015.
He predicted the fan reaction.
He predicted the fan reaction for one. But if a game is about hate and revenge, and it's a conflict, and it's caused conflict in fans, then hey, I think it's set out to do the job that it did. Anyway, enough about Last of Us Part 2. I still think it deserves a lot of recognition. The crunch was fucking shit, but I feel like the game itself was extremely.
I really enjoy the notion of Ethan sitting in bed at night thinking about Bugsnax and then his mind wandering to The Last of Us 2 next.
Ironically, the game left an impact, but I didn't think about it as much as I thought about Bugsnax, you know?
That's hilarious.
You know, I still think about it. Still thinking about Bugsnax. Oh well, moving on. Kyle, what's Kyle? Talk about a game that isn't heaped in controversy, please.
All right, real quick, how many more games are we going to talk about?
I've got like one, maybe.
Okay.
I can think about. What about you, Hunter? I've got because Hunter said remake. Obviously, you know what my final one is, Hunter.
Yeah, I can do one or two if you'd like. Really, it doesn't matter. You pick.
How many have you got? Kyle?
I'll have this one and then the next one, and then
cool. Sounds good to me.
I think that'll be it.
Yeah.
So, because I know Ethan's not going to talk about it, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition.
How dare you?
Was a game that released back in May. But I fucking know what your last game is. Shut up.
I was.
Don't
no.
even pretend.
No, the reason that I'm not mentioning it is because I knew it was on your list. It's also how, spoiler alert, I haven't mentioned Crash 4 because I know that I'm going to be having to have that fucking conversation with Jack anyway. Spoiler alert, Crash 4 will be later, kids, but I'm not going to have that conversation because I know that I'm going to have it with someone else, you know what I mean? So there you go.
Yeah. Alright, fair
Anyway,
enough.
carry on, Xenoblade.
You get a pass.
Thank you.
Anyways, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, remaster of
Remaster Plus.
original Xenoblade Remaster Plus.
It's not just a straight up.
Xenoblade Final Mix.
It's not just a straight up port. They changed the player models and then they added stuff like UI elements and stuff like that. Add an easy mode. So I call it a Remaster Plus. It's the same code. They just changed bits and pieces. So Remaster Plus is what I'd use.
Yeah,
I hate these.
I always get
to give us Future Connected.
We don't talk about that.
Raise your hands if you finished it. That's what I thought.
Audio listeners, no one raised their hand. Thank you. Anyway, carry on. Xenoblade.
Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. It is the same fantastic game that it was 10 years ago when it first released. I absolutely love this game to death. It does show its age at times, a lot in the combat especially, but honestly, that didn't faze me nearly as much as it fazed Ethan, because I mean, I've just grown accustomed to it. Like, this is the game.
It was boring. That was my problem. Not that it was boring.
Yeah.
There's no meat to the bones. If like,
Yeah.
and as someone who usually doesn't like meat on their bones, at least if you're, at least you know what I mean. I just want those bones, baby. I just want those fucking bones. But you know, even in like Kingdom Hearts, even when I play Kingdom Hearts, I'm just mashing the fucking X button, right? At least I'm fucking mashing the X button, so I feel like I'm doing something. Xenoblade is just sitting around checking your fucking watch to see what time it is, and the game going ding, you can press the win button now, and me going cool, win button time, and then moving on. Like, that's my problem with Xenoblade, is it doesn't feel like you're in, like, Xenoblade 2 is, it feels way more interactive. Like, it feels like, I've got to do stuff at the right time, stagger correctly so that I can get my inputs right, do these set inputs in a set order. Whereas Xenoblade 2, it very much feels like you can just fucking go up and at it, just go fucking, oh look, there's a big dino thing, let me just go hit it with my fucking sword real quick. Like, oh, make sure you hit it from behind to do some extra damage. Nah, no need, because I can just sit at the front anyway and kill it anyway, because I've got busted moves. It doesn't really matter to me. But anyway, carry on, Kyle. Gameplay's my main problem with that game. I love the story.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. If you don't know anything about the game's story, like, it's super engaging all the way through. It is a huge romp of a game.
Yeah.
Like 60 hours, I would say. 60 to 80.
Unless you're me and Hunter.
Yeah, then it's like 40.
Me and Hunter, we were 30. We speedrunned through that game.
Yeah, we were 30. We didn't care about side quests, so that's why. Side
quests in a Xenoblade game always feel kind of, they're just fetch quests mainly, so I was just like,
I delivered the man his biscuits, and that was the only thing I did.
I'm so glad that the biscuit quest resonated with you so much.
It cracks me up is all. It was the only thing I did.
But anyway,
there's another quest right at the start of the game where the guy lost the key to his house. So you have to find that for him.
Yeah, but who's gonna remember finding a house key?
I found it.
There isn't delicious food involved there.
I just want you guys to know I never mentioned this because I forgot about it. But now that you reminded me, Kyle, I found his house key and then didn't give it back. Like, I picked it up and then I was
has been locked out of his house for 5 months.
I picked it up and I was like,
save him.
I picked it up and I was like, that's my house now. I went on my main quest. I was like,
oh my god, your property is my property.
It was mine now. But yeah, anyway.
The game as a whole, it's super, super enjoyable. The cast is all great. I love them all. They're all silly, all great.
All?
What if you love British people?
I can't say it because it's a spoiler, so I can't say it. All but one. I like all but one of the cast. And I can't say that character because it's the only one that's a fucking spoiler, so
Get wrecked, nerd.
Sorry, but there's one character I don't like in that game. The rest of them are pretty cool. Shulk's a bit of a whiny bitch
Yeah.
as well during the second half, but he gets better. You gotta give him a chance. Melia deserved better in that game.
Melia deserves everything.
Jenna
By better,
Coleman.
we don't mean future connected.
Imagine bringing Jenna Coleman back for Future Connected. Imagine that waste of time, dude. Imagine bringing a character back for that. Imagine. But anyway, no.
I will give Future Connected this. They did decide to voice heart to hearts in that side thing.
Yeah, but how many heart to hearts were there? Like 2?
A good amount, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long.
I don't know why they also looks better in Future Connected, but
I love Shulk's Future Connected outfit. It's great.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't voice the heart to hearts in the main game, but oh well.
Effort. But no, I feel it. I didn't
make the game. Anyways, the game itself, it's super fun, super great. Please play it. It's a wonderful game. While you're at it, buy Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
The whole trilogy is on Switch now.
The whole trilogy is on
Xenoblade
Switch.
2 and Xenoblade 2 Torna. There's no other Xenoblade games.
Xenoblade 2's prequel.
There's no other Xenoblade games that need to be.
Nope, don't exist.
Nope, sir.
What the fuck's a Wii U? Never heard of it.
The 3 that matter anyway.
It's almost like it got X'd out of existence.
Exactly. Dude. They just crossed it out. Dude. They just crossed it out. But no, I like Xenoblade quite a bit. I feel my problem with Xenoblade was it's not similar. I was going to say it's similar to my feelings about P4 because it's not. I think P4 is also an excellent game. My problem with Xenoblade 1 is just I like Xenoblade 2 more. That's my main problem with that game.
Yeah.
Is I like Xenoblade 2's story more. I like Xenoblade 2's combat more. I just liked it more. Which is the strength of the Xenoblade franchise, is they have so many fucking good games in that franchise. All 3 of them are really good. So I can't complain, but I don't know. It came out. I feel like it came out at a bad time. That was my thing with it. Was we were right in the middle of. We'd just come off Royal. We'd just come off Remake, and now we were playing that as we waited for and then we were playing that with Last of Us as well. It was just it was kind of just the wrong time for that game to come out. But
it kind of fit the right time for the JRPG onslaught.
Yeah.
Where it's you started with Royal, you got a month for that, and then you had FF7 Remake, you had a month for that, and then Xenoblade DE, you had a month for that, and then who fuck knows what else came after that.
I mean, to be fair,
did anything happen in July?
If you have a job and you finished Royal in a month, that's a fucking achievement, because Jesus. I barely did, and I was doing nothing, so, because I was in lockdown, so, yeah.
It took me 2 or 3 weeks without a job.
Yeah, exactly. It's, but no, I do like Xenoblade quite a lot more. Like I say, I find it weird that when we have games that we really like, we tend to talk more of the nitpicks and the negatives more than the positives. So it kind of sounds like you're negative when I'm like, no, I really like the game.
Yeah.
It's just when we talk about this kind of stuff, we want to get the nitpicks and all that out of the way because it's clear. But we still like the game I still like the game quite a bit.
The quality of the game as a whole, it's super, super well done.
Oh yeah.
The music's phenomenal. The characters are all really great. The stories definitely keeps you wanting to go from point A to point B. The 2 worlds you explore are super fucking cool and super pretty.
Yeah.
Button
Mountain can go fuck itself, though.
Oh yeah, Button Valley. That was
in Button Valley.
Yeah,
suck it.
I had way more fun of listening to Ethan play it after I did it.
I was drinking my way through it. It was that fucking tedious. I don't. For those who are not usually around here, I don't really drink that much. So the fact that game resulted in me fucking drinking because it was that fucking boring. How many buttons I had to press. But yeah, it was. Apart from that section, I like the rest of it quite a bit. And Ricky is
at least the music in Button Valley is good.
Yeah. But once you get to that 3-hour mark, I'm just like, damn, I wish this was over. You get halfway and you're like, I'm done. It's like, no, part 2. I'm like, no.
No, you're just at the chest.
Yeah, you're just at the chest. No.
Keep climbing, idiot.
No. Final thing I wanted to say. Yeah, final thing I wanted to just say was Ricky's a Chad, and that's all I have to say.
Ricky's a fucking Chad. He canonically fucks.
He
Dude
does.
has 12 kids.
Yeah, dude.
He is one of 2 Xeno characters who have canonically fucked.
Wow. You love to see it.
Fun fact.
Right, anyway, before we move on to our final picks, we've got to give the arbitrary award for best darts in a video game before we go on with our final picks. So our nominations for this year, because the second half of 2020 really lacked in darts play-based video game play, are Final Fantasy VII Remake, Persona 5 Royal, and 51 Clubhouse Games. Those are our 3 nominations. And how are we deciding this, boys? Who's winning? Hunter, you've played all 3.
I have.
What are your thoughts? Because I know what my thoughts are. I think that
probably Persona.
Right. Here are my thoughts, right? It's not Remake, because Remakes was cool, but Remakes was fucking piss. As soon as you figured it out, it was really easy. 51 Clubhouse Games, I feel like, is pretty good. It feels the most like darts, because you've got your Joy-Con, you got to throw it, right? It feels most like darts.
Yeah.
However, if you lock your Joy-Con in the same place every time, you can get it to the point where I figured it out very quickly, that I found a specific part on the board where I can just do that and fucking throw my Joy-Con as hard as I fucking can and get a bullseye every time. Whereas to me, Royal is probably the best one, because
it's almost like darts is a game that requires technique in order to be able to do the same thing each time.
Yeah, it's almost as if you could just do the same movement every time and get the same result. You know, it's crazy. But no, I think Royal deserves it, just because Royal made it an integral gameplay mechanic. You know, you had to if you wanted better baton passes. So there you go. That's my vote. Kyle, what's your vote? You haven't played Royal, so what's your vote? Or Final Fantasy VII?
I also haven't played 7 Remakes, so it goes to Clubhouse Games by default.
Right, so I'm Royal, you're Clubhouse Games. Hunter, what's your verdict? Don't pick fucking Remake. You have to pick one or the other.
Oh, please pick Remake. I want to see Ethan cry.
Great.
Remake's out.
It's like this is like when it's like when there's like in Among Us when there's like the suspicion
it's
is
Kyle. Trust
like,
me, it's Kyle. It's Kyle. I didn't. What would you give it to, Hunter?
Royal, probably.
Well, there you go. Congratulations, Atlas. You've won the best darts in a video game award at the HGAs. Look forward to your trophy coming when you give us review copies of the game. There we go. There's a little deal.
That Persona 5 Strikers looks pretty shiny.
We'll do like
except 1 Strikers, please.
Yeah, okay, get us a review copy, Atlas, and we'll send you over a trophy. It'll be one of those generic ones, you know, like a basketball trophy or something. Engraved. It'll just say like best. It'll say best.
That's just like that tinfoil trophy that the Swedish chef had.
Yeah, it'll be.
Oh my god!
I just think it'd be funny if we set them like best darts in a video game HGA awards, and then it was like a fucking golf like trophy or something. It wasn't even like a dart trophy. I just think that'd be fucking funny. But anyway, there you go. You can't say that we didn't keep our promise with the darts award. So there we go. Final games. Hunter, you're up. What's your final game? Technically, I guess, your game of the year. I wonder what it is. Oopsie, I've already written down Hades.
Yes, and you are correct, because I don't think I actually got the chance to talk about this on the podcast proper, aside from, predicting it for everything it was nominated for at Game Awards. But I do have a review up, so go look at that.
Yes, he does.
Because, oh man, Hades is so good. The combat is amazing. Okay. Sorry.
He's fine.
I've spent like every other time I talk about this game is just babbling and gushing. All right.
He's got to think combat. He's got to think about it. Damn.
The combat,
that's the way to do it.
Feeds into itself real well with the rest of the world. You got 6 different weapons. They can be modified right there to do certain things, depending on how far along you are. Each of them have their own merits, and I took a shine to some of them early on. Like the spear was cool because you could throw it and call it back, and that does like backstab damage on the callback. So that's just super spiffy. Yeah. And then later I like played with the sword that you start with a little bit more, and I'm like, oh man, this actually does work. Cool. The crux of the gameplay is the boons that you get from the gods of Olympus, which is kind of like how you build out your character. It modifies all your moves, your regular attack, your special attack that's more specific to the weapon you're using. You've got this magic move they call a cast. Depends on what you have, like which boon you have, and then your dash. Those can all be modified. The boons can play nice with each other in a lot of different ways. Athena and Hermes is a great combo because you'll be untouchable. Athena reflects, Hermes makes you go super fast. Yeah, good stuff. Outside of that, as a roguelike, it plays with the, structure of the game and how they deliver the story to you really well, because every time you die, you get more pieces of the world. Like the characters all talk to you, and it's not just, oh shucks, you'll get them next time. They have like their own subplots and stuff that play out in front of you, and the subplots are some of the best parts of the game. Critically, there's enough stuff there that I beat the game in some respects. I saw the credits. I did that part. I did that much at least, and I still keep seeing new stuff when I go back and do a run every now and then. So it will never get old, even if you take like 100 attempts to, beat Hades the first time, even. Yeah. The music is impeccable. Supergiant never fails to deliver on that. Oh, man. Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Wow.
That's enough.
I'm good. That's it. Hunter's Game of the Year.
Oh, wait. The art style is great and critically better looking than Ghost of Tsushima. Thank you.
How dare you? How dare you?
We promise we're done talking about that game forever.
No, that's what you think. Can't wait to talk.
It's true. I'll never be done beating this dead horse.
It's better than the games industry at large always talking about Cyberpunk.
Hey, dude, we got...
Yeah.
Hey, we'll be talking about that next.
That's a different dumpster fire.
Yeah. And then we just have to see how that plays out. That one's just not leaving until the next gen version's out, at least. So that's just going to be painful. But no, Hades looks great. It's kind of been the game. It's kind of been the breakout for Supergiant, I feel. Everyone won't stop talking about it in a good
Rightfully
way.
So.
In a good way. I feel like this is their breakout game in a way. Obviously, people loved all their other games like Transistor and Bastion and all those other ones. But this one seems to be the one where everyone seems to be like, no, seriously, everyone go fucking play this video game. And for the most part, a lot of people have that wouldn't usually play a Supergiant game. So I'm quite happy for them. And hopefully...
I've been seeing it get Game of the Year awards on other outlets too. I'm like, yes, thank you. Amazing.
And hopefully...
my people.
Yeah. Hopefully they...
my people.
Hopefully they keep going at the pace they're going and keep making great stuff, which I'm sure they will do. I'm sure they won't burn like a CD Projekt right now.
Nah, man.
Which, to be fair, as much as we shit on stuff like CD Projekt, you've got to remember, when we're taking the shit out of them, we're taking the shit out of the fucking investors and the higher ups that push this game out, and not the poor fuckers that are actually working on the...
Yeah, those poor developers worked hard, and their work was...
And I'm sure they care so much about how horrible this makes it look out to be and stuff like that. They're probably pained about all of this that's going on. And it's all 100% the greedy investors at the top and the higher ups that have caused this. So when you're shitting on them, know who know who you're fucking chatting shit about. Don't just throw it at the devs, because I'm sure the devs have spent
shit on the right people.
Yeah, I'm sure the devs have put their hearts and souls into this game, and they just got it pushed out of the door another 6 months too early, which is ironic because it's already been pushed back so many times. Obviously, some leadership problems over at CD Projekt. Anyway, I guess I'll move on to mine. Can anyone guess what mine is? If Hunters is Hades, I wonder what mine is. Spoiler alert. I said I wouldn't give it Game of the Year at the Game of the Year so far. I'm a fucking liar. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's P5R. It's fucking P5R. Of course it is. It's my favorite game of all time. It's my favorite game of all time. I still think about it on a daily basis. It's an unhealthy addiction at this point.
Remember earlier when you hassled Kyle about picking Devil May Cry 5?
Yeah. And
even though it came out on the Switch
definitely talked about P5 more than I've talked about Devil May Cry on this podcast.
HGO episodes 10 is the spoiler cast. We also have episodes 5
episodes, all of them.
Now, and then we talked about it in Game of the Year so far as well, which was episode 17. If you remember, Kyle, you got it wrong, not 16, 17.
Wow.
Bring
Really?
more.
You're bringing up that old word?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Wow.
I hate you.
I hate you.
Wow. But no.
Can you believe this guy?
No, I've said I can't say any more about P5 than I've already said. I wasn't going to the whole argument that I've had is it's 70 hours of it is the same fucking shit, just better in every way because they refine the shit out of the gameplay, except for Okuma's fucking boss fight. We'll talk about that one afterwards. No award until you apologize for that as well. Review copies and an apology, thank you.
Oh my god.
I feel like the thing that happened right after that was the apology.
True. It really did change that scene. It went from me, am I supposed to feel sad because I'm not? I'm feeling. I'm with it. I'm with the fucking villains at that point. But no. Even when I look at those 30 hours, the more I think about those 30 hours in isolation, the new stuff, the new content, the 30 hours separate, it's the best stuff they've ever done. And it blows my mind of how they fucking did it. I don't think I was expecting going into Royal. I was expecting for me to just have, it's going to be a fanboy moment and it's going to be pretty cool, but it's a bit like great examples, Marie's stuff in P4 Golden, where it's like, that's cool, and it's got a cool gimmick to it, which isn't cool. It fucking sucks and it crashes on the PC version. So it's not cool. That dungeon fucking sucks. But no, I thought it was just going to be like a gimmick thing where it's like, here's some side thing that just slots into the middle that's not really that relevant, but it kind of is, and there you go, we just added something in. They actually added something that changes my entire opinion on the game and makes the ending way better and just changes everything about it to the point where it's my favorite.
That 30 hours could have been 100 more, and I don't think I would have complained.
Kind of sad that it wasn't. Because everyone was fucking memeing and shitting and being like, P5 2 is gonna happen, and then there's a part of me that sits there going, well, yeah, if they were gonna do the Joker, Violet, and Crow thing for Persona 5 2, I would have just taken that. You could have given me a fucking 80-hour game of those three, and I would have
without a second thought.
Yeah. So that would have been like a great thing, but no, it's so good to the point where you can say it about Persona 4 as well, really, where it's just like, you've got to play Royal. There's no point. They have genuinely made the old game inferior in every fucking way possible. Where I love the original P5. Will I play it again one day? Probably. But they have made that version inferior in every way, to the point where my friend who has bought P5, Ed, who you might know from the radio and stuff like that, if you follow me more in depth than on this podcast, he hasn't played P5 yet, but he's owned P5, to the point where I've been like, nah, fuck that. I'll give you my copy of Royal. Don't bother. Like, I'll lend you my copy. There's no point playing base P5 anymore. Honestly, it's my favorite game of all time. It's one of the best JRPGs ever made. But that's just Atlas in general. Atlas does no wrong in terms of this kind of stuff. And I'm sure when we sit here when we're talking about P6, we'll all gather here and we'll be like, wow, this makes P5 look like a load of shit, doesn't it? Because that's just what Atlas does every time. And yeah, you'll always have fans of the old game. Like, I love P4 as well. I'm sure I'll love P3 when I eventually get to it. And there's always a bias with the first one you play. I know that because everyone's like that with Persona. Have you seen the community?
Everyone's like that with everything.
Everyone's like that with everything. But man, I fucking adore Royal. It's everything you want in a story, and it resonated with me too much, in a way, which is why it really impacted me so much. But no, I fucking love that game. And I will shut up about it now. Now that 2020 is over, I will shut up about it until Strikers comes out, baby! February. You'll get a solid 2 months of no Persona talk, and then we're back on it, boys. And then Strikers comes out.
Back on my
bullshit.
The next weekend, we'll have the spoiler cast with you and me.
Yeah,
potentially Jack. I don't know.
Jack won't get Strikers straight away. He hasn't got Calamity. He won't get Strikers. But no,
you got a point.
It just I can't wait to. I genuinely am interested to see where Persona goes next. I genuinely am. It's one of those franchises where they've I hate that they're hinting already because it's the 25th next year. They've already started hinting that it might just be an announcement but we might see something. And I'm like, oh god, I don't want to. I'm not ready. But at the same time, I can't wait to see what they've done next.
I mean, they hinted at 5 like way before it came out, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I had known about what Joker looked like forever. I mean, it did come out on PS3, technically.
I mean, like PS3 exclusive.
I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary for Persona 6 to be out in 2022. I do not think that's out of the ordinary. I think
I can see that happening.
I see a 2-year gap because when you think about it, Golden wasn't the main project everyone was working on. They were already working on 5. That was just like a side project, and I think Royal was the same. I wouldn't be surprised if they're already hard at work on 6, and it shouldn't take as long as 5.
2 would be like 5 years from
2016. Yeah, if you think about it, came out in 2016 in Japan, so it would have been 6 years.
Oh right.
So yeah, I feel like it.
And that means with that pesky localization business, it'll take us.
Yeah, but Shin Megami SMT5's getting a day and date localization. I'm hoping this is the start of the fucking day and dates for Atlas because they have no excuse because they sell a million copies over here as well. If Xenoblade gets day and date, fucking Persona should. Let's be real here. Come on, guys. Come on. Atlas.
I just want to say shout outs to SMT3 Remake not having a US release date yet, an overseas release date yet. And the game has already been released in English once.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I don't get it.
I also want to give a shout out to SMT3 as well because it has a release window of the first half of 2021, whereas SMT5 has a release window of Q1 2021. So technically we could live in a world where SMT5 comes out before the remaster that's supposed to get people into SMT comes out. So thank you for that one, Atlas. Very cool. But no, I've talked enough about P5R. We'll let it rest now. You can rest now until I play you again at some point in 2021. Kyle, what's your final pick?
All right, everybody, step back into the time machine. We're going back to the magical time of 1998. I was barely not even a year old at this point. Banjo-Kazooie's out on the N64. Ocarina of Time is out.
A tragic time.
And Half-Life is out.
Tragic times.
Metal Gear Solid.
Bunch of garbage. Crash 3. Fucking hell.
Crash 3. And above all else, Xenogears for the PlayStation 1 has been released.
He's done it again. He's fucking done it.
It's October.
Oh.
It's a glorious time. Everyone is rejoicing in the streets. There is no war. There is no famine. Everything is perfect in the world because we have a game where you can do kung fu with giant robots.
Yay.
Isn't that the premise of 13?
Truly. I don't know. It might be. I don't know anything about that game.
One of the boss fights and No More Heroes.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm pretty sure that's the premise of Crash 2 as well with Engine. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, Kyle, carry on. Sorry.
We just like kung fu robots. Put it in anything, it works.
Kick, punch, it's all in the mind.
So,
except for Transformers, the Michael Bay movies.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, anyways, Xenogears, the game that kickstarted the Xeno franchise, and fun fact, originally was pitched as the story for Final Fantasy VII, but Square turned that down because they thought it'd be too complex.
Final Fantasy VII has like a couple of babies that came out of it, like Xenogears, and Parasite Eve was also a lot of concepts from that started off in the developmental stages.
It's one of the only times, it's one of the only times where something like that happens, and it's not like a train wreck. The actual game's a train wreck. Like most of the times, like we reject it and then we make a pile of shit. Whereas with Seven became this critical darling as well, and it was like wow.
Yeah,
it was like everything good came from that. Where it was like people liked 7, then Xenogears came out, and people really liked Xenogears as well. And it was like all of the things that came off of that just kind of worked out, and it's really weird that happened.
Yeah,
Resi 4 spawned Devil May Cry, and those both did pretty well too.
Yeah, exactly. But usually something terrible happens. Like with Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed was a spin-off of Prince of Persia, which killed Prince of Persia. So it's just one of those weird things where it was like, oh, we don't need you anymore, and threw it in the fucking bin.
I don't want to play with you.
Yeah, I don't want to play with you anymore. Anyway, that's probably going back. Carry on, Cal. Sorry.
So I was really drawn into the world of Xenogears almost immediately. The whole it's so hard for me to put into words how I feel about this game because I've only played it once. I played it once this year, and it'll probably be one of those games I replay every year just because it's way too long to sit down with it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know where to start with it. The characters are all super... It's, like, take everything I said earlier about Xenoblade, and it is applicable here. The Xeno franchise is one of the most consistent franchises I've ever played. No matter what genre or what console generation it's on, it's just, it always works so well with everything it tries to go through. And the Xenogears was one of those games I played before in kind of the lead up to Definitive Edition, and I'm really glad I did because I was noticing so many parallels between the two games that it was almost like you could fill out a fucking bingo board with how many similarities there are.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know what else. I'm just gonna talk in circles about this game. The music is fantastic. The characters are all super engaging. You can find traces of the characters still being reused to this day. There's one character, Bart, who was basically the groundwork for how Zeke is in Xenoblade 2.
That's amazing.
Like, excluding the giant sword that Zeke has, it's basically a carbon copy of everything Zeke did. So much so that in the DLC they gave Zeke a costume that makes him look like Bart, and that just
that's awesome.
That was so cool to see. It's unfortunately the most representation Gears got in Xenoblade 2. Thank you, Square Enix, very cool. Someday you'll be free and back in Monolith Soft's possession.
That's what you think.
Give it back.
Square's like,
Just
I can dream, Ethan.
We can use this for gacha though. We don't need anything else, dude.
We can put it in Kingdom Hearts.
I'd be okay with that.
Man.
I'd be okay with that. Anything. Give me anything.
What the world ends with you in. I'm sure. Trust me. I'm sure Neo will also make an appearance in a fucking spin-off. I can guarantee it. Well, like, Zoro, the Neo people, dude. That's what's gonna happen. Can't wait, but no.
But yeah, as a whole, like, the Xenogears, yeah, it feels kind of dated at times, but if you can get past it, like, the combat's super addictive. It's very simple. You have your light, medium, and heavy attacks, and then those can all lead into combos, and characters have magic, stuff like that. It's just, everything about the game works so perfectly that it's hard to just give an overview of it. It's just something you have to experience for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for any way to try and play it now, the best, really the only way without breaking the bank to play it, is it's available on PS3 through the PlayStation 1 Classic service. But that is the easiest way to get a hold of it nowadays, because there's been no re-releases of it outside of the PS3. I know this is kind of
those kind of weird releases, though. It's quite funny. It's like Persona 3. We were having this conversation where you were like, in America, you guys are like, oh yeah, you can get a copy of PS2 Persona 3 FES quite easily if you want to. And I was like, yeah, did you know here in PAL you have to pay £180 just to get a fucking copy of it? Is that rare? I can buy it for £8 on PSN. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But no.
I didn't want a box anyway.
Well, to be fair, I'm just scared of taking the PS Store down, so I bought it. I was like, I'm just going to buy P3 now because I'm fucked otherwise, so...
Yeah.
Although, hey, January's coming up. Maybe. I'll play it. Who knows? We'll see.
Do it, dude. It's good.
I probably will. It'll probably be one of those games where I'm like, oh, but I wanted to play Age of Calamity, and it'll be like, nah, fuck it. I'll just play this 60-hour RPG instead. RPG.
Nothing like some Persona 3 to warm you up for Persona 5 Strikers.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Hey, it didn't stop me from playing Persona 4, did it? Like a month after I played Persona 5 Royal. So, hey, but yeah.
Exactly.
But no, Xenogears looks cool. I wish I would play it. I wish I had the energy to play it. But you know what I'm like with fucking PS1 games. I still have the PS1 Classic, which one I bought in a bargain bin because lol, and two it has like 20 odd games on there, and I've played none of them, and yet it is sat up like underneath my bed for like fucking 2 years, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to play a load of those, but hey, it's just sitting there in purgatory. I should play it though. I really should.
But yeah, I can't recommend Xenogears enough. It's everything about it just works so well. Like, I cried at the credits. I'm not someone who gets emotional playing games that often. I'm not
I
Ethan.
like a bitch, dude.
But
I like a bitch.
I'm not even.
but between all the final cutscenes and then your typical JRPG vocal credit song, like, it all just hit me. And then the end screen popped up and it was like end of story 5, because this was meant to be like a 6 or 7 part thing that unfortunately never it's still reverberating through the series today. Everything Tetsuya Takahashi wants to do. I almost said Tetsuya Nomura out of
I was real afraid that you were about to.
out of
I was gonna
habit.
be like, what?
Yeah, imagine if that was his plan all along. Kingdom Hearts is Xenogears.
I'm down, dude. If he wants to do that, here, fucking take the reins, Nomura.
That's
Squeenix still technically owns it.
That's a bad idea.
We just need to inception it into his dreams, because obviously, if he dreams that Sora, Donald, and Goofy were attacked by a giant like sandwich, it's gonna be a boss fight in the next Kingdom Hearts game.
There you go. Xenogears is Cal's final pick. Now, kids, as it is Christmas, it is now time. We are in Christmas present. It is time to go to the Christmas past and the Christmas future. AKA, I have already recorded a segment with Kane, and I have to still record a segment with Jack. So we're gonna play those now. Christmas past. What's Kane's favorite games that he's played this year? Let's find out. Insert clip here. Hey guys, we're here with Kane. Hey Kane, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, don't ignore our clothing. We didn't just record the Spider-Man spoiler cast, no sir. Kane, we brought you on because we want everyone's opinions on their favorite games they played this year. So you've got a couple that you wanted to talk about. So hey, over to you. What's your first game that you wanted to talk about?
All right, so I picked 2. The first one I'm going with is Manifold Garden, which we have mentioned previously in the podcast, but
We did.
it was not probably the most well-known game, not on everyone's radar. It's a incredibly gorgeous puzzle game where what was the objectives? I guess the objective was to transport particular color objects to pads to activate different stuff in the environment to occur. But the unique thing about it was that it was kind of modeled after MC Escher. And so like the world iterated on itself. And so like if you looked right, you saw the same platform you were standing on, and then you saw it again
and again.
and again. And you go left and up, down. It just repeats in all directions. Except there's slight deviations and whatnot. And that's how you wrap into a new section of field or something. You can kind of switch between different environments. And it's very, I don't know, it was such an incredible visual experience, but like the puzzle aspect, I think most of the basic level puzzles were challenging puzzles, and so in my experience, hard puzzle games have a difficult time catching on, even though like I think this is something that anyone could watch and just like be very impressed with just how the game looked. But at the same time, like I don't know, I need to go back and play that game again because there are puzzles within the puzzles where like the basic stage is a maze and you have to like solve it to beat it, but there's ways to break the game where you like are able to just barely sneak. Like there's one room in particular where there's a way to shift gravity wrong. That's the other thing, shifting gravity, and that allows you to interact with different things, because that's how you can like go in all directions, and there's no like fall damage. You just continually pass through the map. And so you can just like jump off a ledge and just fall for 10 minutes and just like watch the whole field just fall past you. It's really quite cool. Pleasant.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the bigger puzzle, I don't know if like Westworld you're familiar with it, where there's like a maze within Westworld or whatever. Like there's a deeper
Yeah,
thing going on.
there's a
Like the
deeper
game,
layer to it. Yeah.
there's a deeper level of puzzle where like you can break rooms in order to get objects into new areas, and like I was not able to get to the final solution
Okay.
of like the puzzle was too. I don't know. I'll have to play it again, but like they made a puzzle that was a bit more of an undertaking than I was able to take on at the time, which is impressive.
That
Yeah.
is really
It's
impressive.
it's
You
a
play a
game
lot
that
of puzzle games.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a game that I remember seeing in a direct, I believe. Sorry, what was it? It's one of those like indie partner showcases that they did this year or something like that.
Yep.
Where I was like, oh, that actually looks cool. So I do want to check it out at some point. It's one of those indie games where I'm like, as soon as I see it at some point on sale on the Switch, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick that up.
It's on Steam. I played it on PS4.
Oh, is it? There you go.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, it's one of those games where I'm like, one day I'll pick it up because it actually does look, and I love the aesthetics of it. Like you said, the MC Escher kind of trippy kind of visuals were something that I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I'm glad to see that people actually did. Quite a few people actually did pick it up. I was surprised. People, that was like the standout of the show. So it looks pretty cool. Of course, I think if anyone's been at the podcast before, they probably know what your second game is, Kate, that you want to talk about. So go ahead, talk about it.
all right, second game of the year for me is gonna be Crash Bandicoot 4. which if you
Shock of the century.
looked at my YouTube or my stream in the past few months, you might have seen at least some of that content. All right, it's like the first new proper Crash game that isn't just a remake. They actually made new Crash content.
Yeah.
And it's a great game. Like it feels good. The levels are all cool. There's a lot of tie into the past stuff while still being original and new and doing fresh things with old characters, and it's a lot of fun to play. And like overall, I think the biggest thing is it's a platformer and it feels good to play.
Yeah, I think it's weird because I was excited for Crash 4, but I don't think I was ready for what it actually was. It's a really interesting game. I didn't expect it to be as big as it was. I didn't expect it to be as fucking long as it was. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, to be honest. It's one of those things where I keep constantly saying it, where I'm like, I don't think it's not my favorite Crash game that I've played ever. I still think I like Crash 2 more. But from a gameplay point of view and from the amount of stuff that there's to do, I think it is one of, if not the best Crash game that I've played in terms of quality. Like we make an argument a lot of the time of quality over quantity, but the fact is that it's so much of it is quality that you can't. It's not the fact that there's a lot to fucking do, but it's all good. There's no to me the
There's only 4 Cortex levels.
The other character, there's only 4 Cortex levels. There's fucking dozens of regular levels, but there's only 4 fucking Cortex levels that suck. But God, it's such an interesting game. It's so long, but I like it quite a bit.
I think the one thing for me is that like once you beat the game and you unlock the triple spin, like that just changes the way the game plays so substantial that like compared to like the first 3 Crash games, I don't know, I was never big on 3 where you get the running shoes and that's just kind of weird. But for this, you get the triple spin, so like the physics changes, and so like playing with that versus like speed runs, like I don't know, I'm not like interested in speed running the game because you just restrict yourself on all the movement tech to just do like boring slide spinning, which is like it's cool, but like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long one. Fun. It's a bit of a long one. Yeah, doesn't help that it's so long that it's like, oh yeah, and any percent runs an hour and 20 minutes, not including the loads. That's any percent of a fucking Crash game. Usually it's 40 minutes, and that's because Crash 2 fucking forces you to sit through bosses that take up like 10 minutes on their own. Whereas this game's like, no, it's an hour and 20, and the bosses are like 10, 15 minutes max. Like, a majority of it is you actually having to fucking platform. So, yeah.
And then you also have the tapes.
And
tapes are great.
Fucking tapes, dude. Ugh, some of them I hated so much. Some of them.
You were just bad.
Nah, the game's bad. Hunter didn't even play. Hunter, did you even play Hunter?
I was watching you casually play.
Nah, man, I played the first playthrough, and then I was like, not 100%ing this. I've made
Fair
my
enough.
peace with that.
I can respect that. It's a
I
big
played a couple
undertaking.
of the tapes just because I was like, I'll see what they do. I think I played all of the extra characters, except I think I skipped on the final Cortex level because I
Good
was like, I
idea.
just want to be done.
Yeah.
I'm ready to move on at this point.
The Cortex, what a character. What a character, but no. Who knows? Well, Kane, thank you for talking about your 2 games that you played this year.
All 2 of them.
All 2 of them, dude. Gosh, you really got your money's worth. No.
Hey, I played other games.
I know you played other games, but you're just like you're like Kyle and you're like Jack, where you'll only play like a couple of games from this year. You're not like me and Hunter that are just both degenerates and just buy far too many games. So thank you.
I resent that.
Hunter, you know what you did. You're you have a problem just like me. But no, and thank you for recommending Manifold Garden again. Go check it out, guys. Because I'm sure Jack's already mentioned Crash 4, but Manifold Garden is actually a really great game that people should pick up. And I intend on doing it soon. When I'm finally out of a backlog. It's on my list. But thanks, Kane. Back to whatever's next. In the editing booth. Let's see what happens. And there we go. That's Kane's thoughts. Wow. Thank you, Kane.
Wow,
Very cool.
super cool.
I can't believe I changed shirts so fast.
Yeah, gosh. Speed run. Wow, nice. That was cool. But then also, we also might have a few other people from Christmas Future. Because I know Kane for a fact is in because we've got his footage because we recorded yesterday. Whereas these next ones we don't have. So I'm gonna look like a real idiot now when I pan it to something that doesn't happen. But hey, if we have any other people that I get a recording of, we'll also insert those in here. So here you go. Here's some other people's thoughts. Hey everyone, Idiot here. Yes, that's right. I was not able to get a hold of Jack or Sam because they've both been busy with Christmas stuff. It's actually after Christmas now as I'm recording this segment, so I hope you all have had an amazing Christmas. I know I have had a pretty good one. Had a couple of cool little bits and bobs, you know. Got Hyrule Warriors based on Hunter's recommendation. Got Watch Dogs Legion. We'll probably have a review up of that in January. I also got a drawing tablet. That's pretty cool. Got a drawing tablet. So, you know, pretty good. Hope you guys have had a good one. Hope you've all been having a safe and wonderful Christmas. So no guests because I'm an idiot, but I've got a little Boo Bear here, my little kitty. First appearance on the show. So there you go. But I thought I'd just give a quick shout out to some of Jack and Sam's favorite games because I was an idiot and wasn't able to get a hold of them. Jack wanted 2 to mention in particular. He really wanted to mention Crash 4 because he really enjoyed Crash 4. He'll probably be up at some point. I don't know what my cat's doing. Please ignore her. He really wanted to mention Crash 4 and he says that everyone should go and check it out, which you should. If you want to, we have a review up it on the channel that I did. I worked really hard on that review. So if you go and check that out, that'd be really appreciated if you want to hear some of our opinions on Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. And then he also played Royal, which he also really recommends. We've talked to death about that, and we'll probably have Jack on to talk about his experiences with Royal at some point in the future. So those are the 2 from Jack. As for Sam, he has also played and really liked Persona 5 Royal, so you should definitely check that one out. And he was also a massive fan of Genshin Impact, the free-to-play JRPG Zelda clone that came out. I was also quite a fan of it as well. And you should totally check Genshin Impact out as well if you have the chance, because it's really cool, it's really fun, and again, you get a lot for your free-to-play. There's a gacha mechanic in it, and you can completely avoid it if you want to. So yeah. I'd highly recommend Genshin and Crash 4 and Persona 5 Royal. So there you go. I have said what I needed to say in terms of those guys getting what they wanted out there. I'll probably bring them on the podcast in January. I mentioned it a bit later in the podcast, but I just want to say thank you so much for watching and listening this year. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I hope you carry on watching us with all the stuff that we do, not only the podcast, but with reviews and all the other stuff that we have planned for the Gigas channel too. Yeah, that's about all I have to say, really. This is a little outbreak, little adjacent thing that I needed to add to the podcast a day before it goes out live. So I hope you all have had a wonderful Christmas. We'll see you in the new year. And yeah, back to Hunter, Ethan, and Cal mocking what would happen if we didn't get any extra guests. It's funny, but we'll deal with it. So yeah, back to you guys in the studio. And there we go. I've changed again. Wow, magic. Wonderful. Wow, 3 changes in the.
I love editing powers.
Editing powers. I'm sure I'm gonna love editing this one together. It's gonna be real fun. But with that, now you've heard everyone's opinions. We're done. We're free for the year. HGO is done.
Hooray!
Well done, guys. That's it. We'll see you all next year. No, but no. Thank you for listening. what have your favorite games been? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you listen to this whole thing, which will probably end up being over 2 hours, thank you, because
Still not our longest episode.
Oh, baby.
yeah, because it's probably going to end up being close to 2 hours. So thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it. And that goes to, if you've only listened to this episode, if you've listened to any episode this entire year, thank you for listening. It's been a great year. We've enjoyed doing it, and we'll be back soon. I don't know if we'll be back the next week because that's New Year's and stuff like that. We might have a week off. We haven't decided yet. But we'll be back soon enough to talk about more games. But until then, Hunter, where can people find you in the meantime? You've got some stuff coming up.
YouTube.com/ReaperHunter23 if you want more in-depth opinions about my top 10 games of the year. That video is going up. It will be up by the time this is. It will be like a week old, actually.
Really?
So go check that out. Yeah, it's uploading tomorrow.
There you go. Wow. So in our time. So yeah, go check those out. And then Kyle, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at KDavisSRL or on Twitch at twitch.tv/KDavisSRL.
And you can find me at Chaotic Ether on both Twitter and Twitch. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode and talk about all these games that we've played this year. Remember to leave a good rating on podcast services, leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed, and share with people that you also think would like this content. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, bit.ly/thegears. We'd really appreciate it as we try and grow that audience so that we can get Atlas to give us review codes, because that's the end goal of this content, apparently.
And then we can send them their trophy.
Their
A quid pro quo, Atlas.
Quid pro quo, Atlas, please. Do you think we're going to give you a bad review, Atlas, really? You got to really fuck a game up for us to give us a bad review, so come on.
Yeah.
Ethan is the biggest Persona simp on the planet now.
Hey, it's true. It's true. Oh, wow. Give me a review code. Thank you.
I also like that I gesture to you, even though I'm pretty sure I'm on the bottom row when you upload the video.
Yeah, you're here, and then Hunter's there.
And to us, you're gesturing to me.
Yeah, you're there. And
dude, I hate how webcams work.
Just the way
I don't know, dude.
And
I'll figure it out in the new year.
Over there.
It's future Kyle's problem. Who cares?
And I'm down here. But no, that's been our show. Thank you ever so much for listening this year. We'll be back next year for more HGO. We promise that it'll only be like a week or two. We won't fucking vanish like we usually do. But until then, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all for a brand new year, which is hopefully a better start. We hope you have a better start to 2021 than this fucking shit fest of a year. Until then, stay safe, stay well. We'll see you after this period, the Christmas period's over. Until then, bye.
Take care.
Toodaloo.